Iran's spokesperson remained silent for 6 days. When he finally spoke, he didn't mention the nuclear program. Not once. And that is the most chilling signal you will hear today. 6 days of silence. No statements, no interviews, no threats. And that silence was more terrifying than any speech could ever be. Because when Iran goes quiet after an American strike, analysts in Washington, Tel Aviv, and London know exactly what it means. They aren't reacting with rage. They are planning with calm. Think with me. If someone breaks into your house, you scream, you curse, you call the police. You react instantly. Now imagine someone breaks into your house and you just watch, slowly close the door, and walk away in silence. That is a different category of threat. On the 6th day, spokesperson Nasser Kanayani appeared. He read a short statement, answered 3 questions, and left. What he said fits into 2 paragraphs. But what lies between the lines, and what he deliberately chose not to say, is what will make you uncomfortable. There is one word Iran used in that statement, a Persian word. Every time it has appeared in recent history, something grave happened afterward. I'm going to show you this word, and you will never hear news about Iran the same way again. Vow, the strike, what the official narrative hides. 1:44 Fern. Washington called it a surgical precision operation against missile infrastructure. Beautiful words, words that suggest control, cleanliness, proportionality. But sources from Middle East Eye, The Intercept, and Le Monde Diplomatique, who have access to mid-level Iranian officials, speak of damage to facilities that were not purely military. One of them near Isfahan. Stop at the word Isfahan. Isfahan isn't just a city. It's the country's 2nd largest, 2 million inhabitants. Persia's historical center, the blue-tiled mosques of every Iranian postcard, the country's main industrial and technological hub, and 150 miles from Natanz, the backbone of the Iranian nuclear program. The entire support chain for Natanz runs through Isfahan. Engineers, components, logistics, research. Attacking Isfahan isn't attacking a missile depot. It's reaching into Iran's chest and squeezing. At the same time, 2 American aircraft carriers in the Persian Gulf. USS Gerald R. Ford, USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. 90 aircraft each. Escort destroyers. Nuclear submarines in the shadows. More firepower than the entire air force of 90% of the world's countries. This isn't a military operation. It's a message. Look at the size of what we have here. Think carefully. And Iran looked at all of it. At the aircraft carriers, at Isfahan, at the diplomatic pressure, and stayed quiet for 6 days. Why 6 days? Because in the 48 hours before speaking, Iran was activating something. 3 movements in 3 countries at the same time. The media covered each separately. They are one single thing. Sur. The web. What was activated before the speech, 6:30, 48 hours before Kana'ani appeared. 3 countries. 3 simultaneous movements. Lebanon. Hezbollah called an emergency meeting with its military commanders in Beirut. Closed door, no public agenda, no statement afterward. The kind of meeting Hezbollah holds when it's receiving orders, not when it's deliberating. Iraq, Kataib Hezbollah, a militia directly linked to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, conducted an unannounced military exercise near the Jordanian border. Jordan borders Israel. Unannounced military exercises in this region, in this context, are not exercises. They are demonstrations. They are Iran saying, "We are here." Tehran. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned ambassadors from 5 countries on the same day. Russia, China, Turkey, Qatar, Oman, all with communication channels to the U.S. that Iran does not have directly. Do you know what that is? It's Iran activating the axis of resistance, the architecture the country built over 20 years to never have to fight alone and never have to fight directly. Hezbollah in Lebanon, 150,000 missiles aimed at Israel. Tel Aviv, Haifa, Be'er-Sheva within reach. $700 million a year in Iranian funding. Houthis in Yemen, capable of closing the Red Sea, 12% of global trade passes through there. Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq, a few miles from American military bases. Groups in Syria, permanent bases near the Israeli border. Iran doesn't have an army projecting power beyond its borders. Iran has a web. And the genius of the web is that each strand can deny any relationship with Tehran. The Houthis are autonomous. We don't control them. But the coordination exists. The missiles exist. The money exists. The spokesperson only appeared after confirming that every node of this web was active, in position, waiting. Now, you understand what was behind the silence. So let's get to the statement, word for word, because there is one specific phrase, and what is missing from that phrase, that will change everything you thought about what comes next. But the declaration, what was said, and the hole in the middle. 6:30, 9:30. Kanayani walked in, unhurried, adjusted the microphone, looked at the cameras, and read this. Official statement. Iran reserves the right to respond at a time, place, and method of its own choosing. Strategic patience is not weakness. It is precision. 2 sentences. It sounds like protocol, like diplomatic bureaucracy. It isn't. Strategic patience, in Persian, sabr-e-rabord, is a technical term in Iranian doctrine, and it has been used in public only 3 times in the country's recent history. 2006, months before the Second Lebanon War. Hezbollah versus Israel, 33 days of conflict. Iran used the expression, then activated Hezbollah. 2019, weeks before the attacks on the Abqaiq and Khurais refineries in Saudi Arabia, the largest oil infrastructure attacks in history. Oil spiked 15% in one day. Iran used the expression, then denied involvement. 2020, days before responding to the assassination of Qasem Soleimani with ballistic missiles at the American bases of Ain al-Assad and Erbil in Iraq. More than 100 American soldiers with traumatic brain injuries. Iran used the expression, then attacked. Every time Iran said strategic patience, something happened. Not instantly, but it happened. That alone is enough to freeze any security analyst. But that's not what I want you to take home. The detail no one noticed. At no point during the press conference, in none of the 3 questions answered, did Kanayani mention the nuclear program. Not one word. No defense of the facilities. No threat of accelerated enrichment. No denial of damage. No claim that the program remains intact. Iran always defends its nuclear program in public. Always. It is a symbol of sovereignty, of resistance. It is central to the regime's political identity. A spokesperson talking about an attack that hit the Isfahan region, where the backbone of the nuclear program is located, and not mentioning nuclear even once. This is either a catastrophic communication error, or it is a deliberate choice. Analysts from the International Crisis Group and Middle East Eye, who have covered Tehran for decades, point to the second option. And the possible reasons are 2. And both are disturbing. Reason 1. The damage to the nuclear program was greater than Iran can admit. Mentioning the nuclear aspect would be confirming something was hit. Silence is the only possible way out. Reason 2. The program has advanced to a stage that Iran doesn't want to highlight. Not because it's destroyed, because it's too close to the 90% enrichment threshold, the weapons grade level. Mentioning it would draw attention to something that, for now, needs to stay in the shadows. So, what is the next step? 3 scenarios, from the most likely to the most severe. And the last one, the least likely, is the one that could change the world's geopolitics without a single missile being fired. V. The 3 scenarios, rising tension to the limit, 9:30, 12:30. No serious analyst can give you certainty about Iran's next step. Anyone who says they know is selling you something. What can be done is map out what is on the table. And that's what I'm going to do now. 3 scenarios, in increasing order of severity. Scenario 1, the most likely Iran activates the Houthis. It intensifies attacks in the Red Sea. It's not new, but the scale changes. More ships, compromised routes, maritime insurance skyrocketing, shipping companies diverting around the Cape of Good Hope. 14 extra days, millions of dollars per trip. Oil prices rise, inflation hits Western economies, and Iran never fires a single missile directly. It denies all involvement. It's Tehran's favorite playbook, and it works because it's almost impossible to counterattack without escalating too far. The dangerous one. Militias in Iraq or Syria attack American bases, but this time with precision that makes it clear there was direction from Tehran. This has already happened. January 2024, Tower 22 in Jordan. 3 American soldiers killed, dozens wounded. The difference now would be the scale. A more lethal attack forces the U.S. to respond. And then the impossible question. Respond with what? Against whom? Without creating a precedent for open war with Iran. Every response demands a counter-response. Control is lost. It's the spiral scenario, where no one wants to reach the end, but no one can get out in the middle. What no one wants to say out loud. Iran announces it has enriched uranium to 90% purity. The technical threshold for nuclear weapons use. It doesn't build a bomb. It doesn't need to. It just announces it. And that announcement, 2 sentences, 1 press conference, redefines Middle East security in a matter of hours. Israel activates emergency protocols. Saudi Arabia accelerates its own nuclear program, something it has already signaled it wants. The U.S. is left with no good options, and Iran achieves the greatest strategic gain in its history without firing a single shot. It's the card kept for when there is nothing left to lose, or for when there is everything to gain. Connection with the silence. Kanayani's silence on the nuclear program might be exactly the signal that Scenario 3 is already being considered. Which of the 3 will happen? Probably a combination of 1 with elements of 2. Iran is pragmatic. Open war means the end of the regime. What they want is controlled pain, enough to change American behavior without crossing the line of an existential response. But what defines which path they take is a variable outside Tehran's control. What the U.S. does next. Further American strikes. Scenario 2 becomes likely, and 3 enters the horizon. Silence and diplomatic opening. Scenario 1, calculated and slow. V, closing. Real urgency. 3 signals. CTA, 12:30, 14:30. This isn't academic analysis. This is happening now. And what happens next won't arrive as an obvious headline. It won't be Iran declares war. It will arrive as new attack in the Red Sea, explosion at American base in Iraq, emergency meeting at the UN. Isolated, they look like local incidents. With what you learned today, you will recognize the pattern before everyone else. 3 concrete signals. Monitor these 3, and you will know what's coming before the next headline. Signal 1. Any movement by Hezbollah in northern Israel. Escalation on the Lebanese-Israeli border means the Axis is being activated. Signal 2. Brent oil above $95 without supply and demand justification. When traders price in conflict, the price shows it before any news. Signal 3. China or Russia calling an emergency session at the UN Security Council regarding Iran. They don't do this to solve it. They do it to provide diplomatic cover while their ally acts. If you see this call, scenario 2 or 3 is already in motion. Final urgency. We are in one of those rare moments. The next 72 hours will define the trajectory of the coming months, and most people will watch without understanding what they are seeing. You are no longer most people. Now, tell me in the comments, scenario 1, 2, or 3. Which one do you think Iran will choose, and why? I read everything and reply to those who bring real analysis. If you want to keep understanding what is behind the headlines before they happen, the subscription is open. Until next time.